My name is Brooke Callahan, and I'm 38 years old. You'd think by this age I'd be done with the kind of relationship drama that belongs in group chats and tequila nights, not in a mortgage-paying, retirement-contributing life. I thought so too. Right up until the Tuesday afternoon, my boyfriend publicly announced that another woman used to be my happiness. Not to me, not in a private message, on his social media, to the entire world. If you'd looked at my life on paper a week ago, you probably would have said something comfortably smug like, "She's fine, she's stable, she's got it figured out." I'd been with my boyfriend, Ryan Mercer, for almost 3 years. He's 35, works in marketing, has his own place, but spends most nights at mine. We'd talked about officially moving in together. We'd floated the idea of getting engaged sometime this year. Nothing dramatic, nothing chaotic, just slow, steady, adult decisions. I work from home most days in a small 2-bedroom condo that I bought myself. My spreadsheets are color-coded, my bills are on autopay, my dishwasher runs off-peak because I like my utility bills low and my habits efficient. On the outside, my life looks like a Pinterest board of grown-up functioning human. And for a long time, I really did believe Ryan and I were on the same page. Then Tuesday happened. I was at my desk, deep in the kind of email thread that seems like it will never end, when my phone started buzzing. One notification, then another, texts, social apps, more texts. At first I ignored it. When I'm in work mode, I try to stay in work mode. That's one of the ways I keep my life together. Focus, finish, then scroll. Simple. But the buzzing didn't stop. By the 8th or 9th vibration, the sound had burrowed under my skin. I sighed, pushed my chair back, and grabbed my phone. 3 messages from my sister. "What is going on with you and Ryan? Call me." "Brooke, seriously, are you okay?" 2 from my best friend. "Just saw his post. You good? Call me if you need to scream." 1 from a colleague who barely knows Ryan exists. "Hey, saw something online, just checking in. You all right?" My stomach tightened. I opened the social app and went straight to Ryan's profile. It took less than a second to find it. A photo. Not some old grainy throwback. A recent shot, within the last year at least. He was at some outdoor festival, sun behind him, string lights overhead, and standing in front of him, smiling at the camera, was a woman I'd seen before. His ex-girlfriend, Sophie. She looked carefree, wind in her hair, sunglasses dangling from her fingers. The kind of carefree that, if I'm being honest, I never fully let myself be. I'm the type who worries about sunscreen and parking validation. The caption under the photo was short, almost casual. "Used to be my happiness." My vision tunneled. For a solid minute, I just stared at the screen, heartbeat loud in my ears, the rest of the world fuzzing out like bad reception. "Used to be my happiness." Posted 30 minutes ago. 40-something likes already. A dozen comments. "You two were perfect together. He still talks about you. Do you guys still keep in touch? Are you okay, hun?" There wasn't a single mention of me. I scrolled through the comments like maybe I'd missed one. Some tiny acknowledgement that he is currently in a relationship with a woman who lets him keep his cereal in her pantry and his spare charger on her nightstand. Nothing. My first thought was oddly practical. I need to screenshot this. My second thought was a sharp, nauseating, what the hell is he doing? I hit call. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. I imagined him at his desk, seeing my name flash, deciding whether to answer. On the 4th ring, he picked up. "Hey," he said, casual, like he'd butt-dialed me by accident. "What's up? Did you post a photo of Sophie?" I didn't ease into it. There was no version of small talk that made sense here. Silence. A half-second pause I wouldn't have noticed a year ago, but now felt like a spotlight. "Yeah," he said finally. "Why?" I closed my eyes. With the caption, "Used to be my happiness?" "It's just a post, Brooke." My fingers dug into the arm of my chair. It's not just a post. It's you publicly saying that your ex used to be your happiness while you're in a relationship with me. Past tense, he said, like that made everything better. Used to be. You're reading too much into it. "Ryan, I have my sister, my best friend, and a coworker texting me to ask if we're still together. Everyone who sees that is reading it the same way." "That's their problem," he shot back. "Not everything is about you." That line landed differently. Not everything is about you. Like I was being selfish for not wanting my boyfriend to romanticize his ex in front of an audience. "You're right," I said slowly, feeling something in me harden. "Not everything is about me. But when you're in a relationship with me, something should be. Like, I don't know, openly declaring another woman your happiness." "Oh my God," he groaned. "You're being so dramatic." "I'm being dramatic," I repeated, the words hollow in my mouth. You just told 100 people your ex used to be your happiness, while you're practically living at my place. It was a memory, that's it. Then why didn't you tell me you were posting it? Why not mention it? Hey, I'm about to stir up every insecurity you could possibly have. I'm not doing this right now, he snapped. I'm at work. When then? I asked. Because you just lit our relationship on fire in public. When I get home. His voice was clipped. I don't know. Later. I need space. You're being suffocating. He hung up. I stared at my phone, the call screen fading back to his profile. The photo. The caption. The comments. The worst part wasn't even the post. It was the way he made me feel insane for caring. This wasn't the first time either. It was just the loudest. There had been other things. Little things I had filed under no big deal because I wanted us to work. The way he dropped her name in passing. My ex used to love this restaurant. Sophie hated this movie too. The way he'd get defensive if I asked basic questions about his day. Why do you need to know everything? You ask so many questions, Brooke. The cryptic lyrics he'd post at 2 a.m., lines about feeling misunderstood, trapped, unappreciated, while sleeping in my bed, using my extra pillow, drinking the coffee I bought. Every time I'd ask if something was wrong, he'd say it wasn't about me, that I needed to stop overthinking, that I was paranoid. And like an idiot, I'd believed him. I'd told myself grown-up relationships weren't supposed to be dramatic, that a little discomfort was normal, that my gut was just anxious and over-caffeinated. I looked down at my phone, at the endless stream of notifications lighting up the screen. More texts, more DMs, more people politely circling the train wreck. I went into settings and deactivated every single social account. No farewell post, no cryptic quote, just off. Then I held the power button and turned my phone completely off too. Not silent, not do not disturb. Off. The silence that followed was almost physical. My condo felt bigger without the constant buzz, the tiny digital demands on my attention. The only sounds were the hum of the fridge and the faint traffic outside. I made coffee I didn't really want, just for something to do with my hands, and sat on the couch, staring out the window. My reflection looked back at me in the glass. 38, tired but not broken. Not yet. For the first time in months, there was no noise between me and my thoughts. Just me, the cooling mug in my hands, and the realization that this didn't come out of nowhere. This was a pattern I'd been too scared to name. I don't know how long I sat there, replaying the conversation, the caption, the months of little yellow flags I'd painted beige. Long enough that when my landline rang, the sound made me jump. Almost no one uses my landline. It's there for work calls when my cell service is spotty, and for the kind of emergencies you list on HR forms and forget about. I stared at the receiver like it might bite me. Then, slowly, I picked it up. Hello? A woman's voice. Older, familiar. Brooke, it's Ellen, Ryan's mom. I'm so sorry to call you like this, but is everything okay with you two? And just like that, the quiet I'd built around myself cracked straight down the middle. For a second, my brain couldn't connect the voice to the name. Then it clicked. Ellen? I shifted on the couch, sitting a little straighter, like she could see me through the line. Hi, is everything okay? That's what I'm calling to ask you, she said, and there was a tremor under the politeness. I tried calling Ryan. His phone's going straight to voicemail. Then I tried you and it didn't even ring. I pulled your number from his emergency contact information. I'm sorry if that's inappropriate, but... It's okay, I cut in automatically. You're fine. I just turned my phone off for a bit. There was a small pause. A break from what, honey? From what? The question sat between us. From the notifications, I said slowly. From people asking me why my boyfriend just posted his ex on social media, like she's still the headline act of his life. From wondering when I became the side character in my own relationship. Ellen exhaled, a soft, weary sound. I saw the post, she said quietly. That's actually why I went looking for your number. Of course she did. Ryan's parents are the kind who like every photo, drop heart emojis under holiday pictures, comment, so proud, on even the most boring work updates. There was no universe where she didn't see it. I'm guessing he didn't tell you about it beforehand either, I said. No, she said. He never does when it comes to her. That her landed heavy. You know, Ellen continued, when he was younger, I used to think it was romantic, I suppose. All that pining, the big gestures, the dramatic breakups. He and Sophie were always a bit of a storm, but storms are only thrilling if you're not living inside them. I pressed my lips together. I didn't know what answer she wanted, if any. Can I be honest with you, Brooke? She asked suddenly. Really honest? Not as his mother, but as someone who likes you a lot. Something in my chest pulled tight. Please. I've been worried about him for a while, she said. Since around the holidays, maybe earlier. He's been off, distant. When I ask about you two, he changes the subject. When I ask if he's happy, he hedges. He'll say, things are fine, but he never looks me in the eye when he says it. He does that with me too, I murmured. The hedging. Ellen made a small sound of recognition. I saw that post today and my first thought was, oh no, here we go again, because I know my son. When he starts looking backward instead of forward, when he starts romanticizing what didn't work, it means he's not okay where he is. The words slipped out before I could stop them. So what does that make me? Placeholder? Emotional insurance? Honey, she said, and the softness in her voice nearly undid me. I don't think you're a placeholder. I think you're safe. And he doesn't know what to do with safe. He confuses stability with boredom. Anger flared hot in my throat. Not at her, at the accuracy. You think he's checked out, I said. It wasn't a question. I think, Ellen said carefully, that he's been halfway out the door for a while. But instead of having the courage to say, I don't know what I want, he's letting things deteriorate. He's making you feel like you're crazy for noticing. I closed my eyes. Hearing my own private suspicions come out of someone else's mouth felt like someone had reached into my chest and flipped on a light. Why are you telling me this? My voice cracked more than I wanted it to. Because I like you, she said simply. Because you have been good for him and good to him. Because you don't deserve to be gaslit into thinking your feelings are unreasonable. And if he won't be honest, someone should be. Does he know you're calling me? Oh, absolutely not. She let out a humorless laugh. He would be furious. He already thinks I meddle. But I couldn't just sit there and watch this happen and say nothing. A lump formed in my throat. You're not meddling, I said. You're being honest, which is more than I can say for him right now. We were quiet for a moment. I'm sorry if I've overstepped, Ellen said softly. I know it's complicated. I'm his mother. I love him, even when he's being an idiot. But I'm not blind, and I'm not going to pretend like what he did today is normal. It's not, I sighed. It's humiliating. And the worst part is, he made me feel ridiculous for even asking about it. That's what he does when he feels cornered, she said. He'll make you question yourself so he doesn't have to question himself. Just please don't let him do that to you, Brooke. You deserve better than this version of him. We talked a few minutes longer. She gave me her number again, told me to call her if I ever needed to talk. I promised I would, even though I wasn't sure if I meant it. When I hung up, the condo felt different. A few hours before, it had felt like a vacuum. Silent, empty, echoing with my own doubts. Now it felt clarified. It wasn't just in my head. It wasn't me being dramatic or needy or suffocating. Ryan's own mother saw the same cracks I did. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the landline like it might start ringing again. Then I took a breath and walked back to my phone. The black screen stared up at me from where I'd left it on the coffee table. I picked it up, thumb hovering over the power button. I knew once I turned it on, the quiet would end. The messages would pour in. The narrative would rush back to flood me. I pressed the button anyway. The logo flashed, then the home screen appeared. Within seconds, the notifications started stacking up like falling bricks. 73 notifications. Most of them were from Ryan. 26 missed calls, 15 text messages, 3 voicemails. The rest were from friends, group chats, apps trying to sell me things I didn't need. I opened his messages. They started worried. Where are you? Why is your phone off? Can you please call me? Then they shifted. This is ridiculous. You can't just disappear because of a post. I know you're seeing these. Stop being childish. Then, predictably, blame. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You make everything a big deal. You're being dramatic, Brooke. Over one post? Seriously? Nothing about understanding why I might be hurt. Nothing about the caption. Nothing about Sophie. Just frustration that I wasn't immediately available to absorb his justification. I listened to the voicemails next. The first 2 were variations of the texts. Irritated concern, annoyed worry. The third one was different. My mom called me, he said, voice tight with anger. She said she talked to you. What did you tell her? She's freaking out. Call me back, now. Ah, there it was. Not concern that I'd gone dark. Concern that someone else had stepped into the story and might not be reading off his script. I stared at the screen for a moment, my thumb hovering over his name. I didn't call. Instead, I typed slowly, deliberately. I'm fine. I needed space to think, that's all. I hit send. His call came in almost immediately. I watched the screen light up, his name flashing, my own reflection faintly visible behind it. I declined. He called again, declined. A text arrived. We need to talk. I typed back. Not tonight. The dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. This is immature. Maybe. But I'd spent months being mature, calm, reasonable, swallowing discomfort to keep the peace. And where had that gotten me? Maybe, I replied, but I need time. Time for what? He shot back. To decide if you're breaking up with me over a post? I could almost hear his incredulous laugh in the words. It's not just about the post, I wrote. It's about how you handled it, how you've been for months. I need to figure out what I want. He didn't reply right away. The dots appeared again. So you're just going to make a decision about us without even talking to me? I stared at that for a long time. I'm going to take some time to think, I wrote. Then we'll talk. I set the phone face down, screen still glowing faintly against the table, and flipped the ringer to silent. Not off this time. I'd learned my lesson about disappearing completely, but I wasn't going to let my nervous system be held hostage by every buzz and ping. I ordered takeout, forced myself to eat, then put on a documentary I only half followed. Every time my mind drifted back to the photo, the caption, his voice calling me dramatic, I reminded myself of Ellen's words. You don't deserve to be gaslit into thinking your feelings are unreasonable. When I finally went to bed, the other side of the mattress felt starkly empty, no extra body radiating heat, no second pillow smelling faintly like his cologne, no phone light flashing in the dark as he scrolled through feeds he'd never fully let me into. For the first time in weeks, I slept straight through the night. In the morning, the situation hadn't magically fixed itself. The mess was still there, waiting. But something had shifted. For the first time since the red flags started piling up, I wasn't more afraid of losing him than I was of losing myself. And that, I realized, was going to matter. More than he knew. The next morning, sunlight leaked through the blinds in pale stripes, soft, harmless, completely unaware that my relationship was hanging by a thread. I made coffee on autopilot, the kind of muscle memory you don't have to think about. My phone was where I'd left it, face down. A tiny island of potential chaos on the counter. I flipped it over. More messages from Ryan. Not a single one said I'm sorry. Not one attempted to understand why I was hurt. Not one acknowledged the actual problem, that he'd publicly romanticized his ex and then acted like I was unhinged for noticing. Instead, you're blowing this out of proportion. You can't punish me every time you're in your feelings. Are you really doing the silent treatment? At your age? At my age. The irony nearly made me laugh. Ryan, who posted cryptic breakup lyrics at 2 a.m., thought I was being childish. As I scrolled, another text notification appeared on top of the others. Ellen Mercer, Ryan's mom. I hesitated before answering. I wasn't sure I had the energy for another emotional excavation before breakfast, but something in me trusted her in a way I didn't trust Ryan right now. I picked up. Brooke, she said, voice tight. I'm so sorry, truly. For what? I asked. For getting you pulled into something you didn't deserve. I spoke to him last night, and he is furious with me. I rubbed my temple. Ellen, you were honest. That's not something to apologize for. He said I blew things out of proportion, she said, mimicking Ryan's tone. He accused me of meddling. He said you and I have, God forbid, a secret alliance. I almost snorted. A secret alliance? What are we, spies? Ellen gave a tired laugh. He refuses to see what he did wrong. He thinks you should be apologizing to him for, what did he call it? Oh yes, making drama where there wasn't any. The way she said it made my stomach flip. That was exactly what he'd done to me. Made me question myself, made me feel like I was always a little too much, a little too sensitive, a little too emotional. He might show up at your place today, Ellen warned. He said he's not doing this guessing game anymore. I closed my eyes. The last thing I wanted was a surprise confrontation. Thanks for the warning, I said. And Brooke, she added, whatever happens, please don't let him twist this into being your fault. Her words sat heavy on my chest long after we hung up. By lunchtime, the anxiety of waiting for him to show up was worse than the idea of facing him directly. I needed clarity, control, a plan. So I texted him, we need to talk tonight. My place. 7 p.m. He responded instantly, as if the message had been burning a hole in his phone. Finally, I'll be there. The rest of the day passed in a haze. At work, I couldn't focus. My mind replayed the past few months, tracing every moment I'd brushed off, every defensive snap, every vague post, every time he made me feel unreasonable for simply wanting emotional consistency. By 6 o'clock, my stomach was tight enough to snap, I cleaned the counters, then re-cleaned them. I straightened pillows. I opened the blinds, closed them. I tried to rehearse what I'd say, but the words tangled in my head. At 6:45 p.m., my front door opened. He let himself in with the spare key I'd given him months ago. Back then, it had felt like a milestone. Now it felt like an intrusion. He stepped inside, dropping his bag near the entryway. He hadn't shaved. His hair was messier than usual. "Hey," he said, voice clipped. "Hey." He crossed his arms. "So, are we going to talk about how you've been acting?" I blinked. "That's not what this conversation is about." "Oh? Then what is it about, Brooke?" His tone sharpened. "Because from my perspective, you're blowing up our relationship over a post. One post. Something that meant nothing." "That's not true," I said quietly. "Then enlighten me," he snapped. I inhaled slowly, steadying myself. "It's about everything, Ryan. The post was just the tipping point." He scoffed. "Honestly, I think you're overreacting." "Do you hear yourself?" I asked. "Because that, right there, is invalidation. I tell you something hurts me, and you tell me I'm wrong for feeling anything." "I'm not invalidating you," he said, palms out, as if I was being unreasonable. "I just think your reaction is excessive." "I called you to talk about something that bothered me," I said. "That's not excessive. That's communication." "You turned your phone off for hours." "After you dismissed me, called me dramatic, and said I was suffocating you," I shot back. "Yes, I needed space." He opened his mouth, closed it. For a moment, he looked like he was about to soften, but then something hardened behind his eyes. "You talked to my mom," he said flatly. I didn't flinch. "She called me. She had no right. She was worried about both of us." "She told you things that weren't her place to say." I studied him. "Did she lie?" He hesitated. I felt the shift, the tiniest crack in the wall he'd built. "She shouldn't have said those things," he muttered. "But were they true?" He stared at the floor. I stepped closer, not threatening, just steady. "Are you happy, Ryan?" He didn't answer. "Are you checked out?" Silence. "Ryan," I whispered, "look at me." He lifted his eyes slowly, and for the first time since the post, I saw something new in them. Fear. "I don't know," he said finally. "I don't know if I'm happy. I don't know what I want." My breath caught. I'd prepared myself for excuses, denial, anger. "Not this." "How long have you felt this way?" I asked. "A few months," he admitted. "And you didn't think to tell me?" My voice cracked. I was trying to figure it out. He dragged a hand through his hair. "I didn't want to hurt you." "So instead," I whispered, "you withdrew. You posted about your ex. You picked fights. You made me feel like I was the problem." He looked away. "Ryan," I said, "I care about you. I do. But I can't be in a relationship where I'm the only one trying to hold us together." He swallowed hard. "What are you saying?" I took a breath that felt like stepping off a ledge. "I think we need to take a break. A real one. Not a timeout, not a few days. Space. Time for you to figure out what you want. And time for me to figure out if I'm willing to wait while you do." "So you're breaking up with me?" "I'm giving us a chance to be honest," I said. "Maybe for the first time." He stared at me, jaw tight, eyes flickering with something between frustration and panic. Then he asked quietly, "Do you want me to pack my things?" I nodded. "Take whatever you need. Leave your key." He disappeared into the bedroom. I heard drawers open, the soft thud of him placing clothes into a bag. After 10 long minutes, he returned. He placed his key on the kitchen counter with a soft metallic click that felt like the punctuation mark at the end of a long, painful chapter. "I'm sorry," he said. "Me too." He left. The door closed behind him with a soft, definitive sound. My phone buzzed a few minutes later. His name on the screen. "I don't want to lose you." I didn't answer. The next buzz. "Please don't give up on us." I turned the phone over, face down, letting the screen fade to black. For the second night in a row, the condo was quiet. But this time, the silence didn't feel like a wound. It felt like truth slowly settling into place. The next few days felt like standing in the eye of a storm, unnaturally calm, the kind of quiet that comes after something shatters, but before anyone starts sweeping up the pieces. I got up, I went to work, I answered emails, I cooked simple dinners, I slept, I breathed. I didn't cry as much as I expected to. Maybe shock has a way of padding the fall, or maybe I'd been grieving the relationship long before it ended. On Thursday morning, my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth. I expected more messages from Ryan. He'd sent a handful each day, hovering somewhere between pleading and irritated. But when I checked the screen, it was Ellen. "Ellen Mercer. I heard what happened. Are you okay?" I typed back with toothpaste still in my mouth. "Me, I think so." She replied immediately. "Ellen. Good. Because I'm not going to lie to you. He's a mess right now, but I still think you did the right thing. Something about that made my chest loosen. I rinsed my mouth, sat on the edge of my bed, and called her. She answered on the first ring. Brooke? I don't know if I did the right thing, I admitted. It feels right, and terrible, and confusing. Those things can all be true at once, she said gently. My husband and I talked to Ryan last night. He won't listen. He's insisting he didn't do anything wrong. He's still saying you overreacted. Of course he was. That was his comfort zone. That's his right, I murmured. But I can't keep explaining why being publicly humiliated isn't a neutral event. He'll keep spinning this, Ellen warned. He'll tell himself whatever story hurts least. Just don't let his version replace the truth. The truth. Which was that he'd been drifting for months. Too cowardly to be honest, and too selfish to let me go. Thank you, I said, for stepping in, even when you didn't have to. I care about you, sweetheart, she said, voice thick for the first time. I really do. We talked a little longer, nothing heavy, just small pieces of normal conversation that made me feel less alone. After we hung up, I sat with the phone pressed against my leg, letting the comfort linger. By the end of the first week, I'd fallen into a rhythm that surprised me. Wake up, coffee, work, walk around the block during lunch, make something simple for dinner, read, sleep. I wasn't avoiding life, I was living it, quietly, without having to brace for the next emotional twist. The absence of tension was startling. Peaceful. It made me realize just how exhausting it had been to constantly navigate Ryan's defensiveness, his moods, his evasiveness. One afternoon, a friend texted me. She's posting again. Should I send you screenshots? I stared at the message. I hadn't refollowed Ryan on social media after reactivating my accounts. I didn't want to spiral into analysis or speculation. I didn't want to decode indirect messages like some unpaid detective of someone else's emotional drama. But curiosity is a stubborn, annoying thing. Me, no screenshots, just tell me the general vibe. 2 minutes later, victim, 100% victim. Healing. Growing. Sometimes people abandon you in your darkest hour. That kind of crap. I closed my eyes. Of course, he wasn't being accountable. He was being poetic. I typed, me. Okay, thanks, I don't need details. Friend. Good, because I already want to throw my phone into the sun. I laughed despite myself. 2 weeks into the break, I realized something I'd either forgotten or never truly learned. Silence can be peaceful, not punishing. I didn't feel empty without him. I felt level. Not walking on eggshells. Not monitoring his tone. Not wondering what version of him I'd get each day. Not carrying the weight of a relationship he'd already half abandoned. For the first time in a long time, I had space in my mind that belonged only to me. 3 weeks into the break, it happened. I was folding laundry in the living room when I saw headlights through the window. Familiar ones. I froze, towel in hand. Then, a knock. Soft, uneven, hesitant. I opened the door a couple of inches, just enough to see him. Ryan. He looked worn. Not thinner, not sick, just deflated, like someone whose conviction had drained out of him. Can I come in? He asked. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to protect the peace I'd built, the quiet I'd fought for. But I stepped back anyway, just for a few minutes. He walked past me, into the living room, stopping near the couch where he used to drop his backpack after work, as if the place still recognized him. I've been thinking, he said. Okay. About us, about what you said, about everything. There was something carefully rehearsed in his tone, a practiced calm, a man who'd decided on his lines and was prepared to deliver them cleanly. And, I prompted, and I think I made a mistake. His voice cracked just enough to feel real. I think I got scared. Scared of what? I asked. Settling. He exhaled shakily. Missing out. Feeling like my whole life was becoming predictable. I know that's stupid. It's not stupid, I said. It's human. But how you acted wasn't fair. He nodded, eyes dropping to the floor. I know that now. He looked up again, and what I saw in his expression was familiar. It was the face of a man who wanted forgiveness without fully understanding the harm. I miss you, he said. I miss us. I want to try again. I didn't speak. I let the moment hang just long enough that he shifted on his feet. Brooke, he said quietly. I hear you, I said, but we can't go back to what we had. Why not? We can fix this. No, I corrected softly. We can rebuild something new, but we can't return to the version of us where I swallowed my discomfort so you didn't have to feel any. He winced. I can be better, he said quickly. I can communicate more. I can stop being defensive. I can... Can you? I interrupted gently. Or would you? He opened his mouth, closed it. That was my answer. Because those are different, I said. You would try for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but eventually the routine would come back, and you'd start wondering again whether something more exciting is out there. That's not a pattern, I asked. Because it is, Ryan, and I didn't see it clearly until recently. He ran his hands through his hair. I don't want to lose you. Ryan, I said softly, you already let go of me when you made me feel like the villain for simply asking you to respect our relationship. He swallowed hard, guilt flickering across his face. I didn't mean to, he whispered. I know, I said, but intention doesn't erase impact. He stared at me, eyes shining. Not with tears, but with a dawning realization. The slow recognition that he couldn't manage the story anymore, that I was speaking from a place he couldn't argue his way out of. I let the silence stretch, then asked, Ryan, are you over Sophie? He stiffened. Yes, he said, too fast. I tilted my head. Completely. He hesitated. Yes. Then why did you post that photo? And please don't say it was nostalgia. There are 100 ways to be nostalgic without publicly announcing that someone else used to be your happiness while dating me. His jaw tightened. His eyes dropped. I waited. Finally, he whispered. I was angry. At me? He didn't answer. For what? I pressed. Silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. For being so stable. I stared. Stable. You're so together, he said, voice rising with frustration. You're so calm, so organized, so unbothered. I felt like I was the only one who ever got insecure. I wanted you to feel what I felt. My stomach turned. So you posted about your ex to make me insecure? Not insecure, he insisted, just aware. Of what? That I'm not stuck. There it was. Not said with cruelty, just honesty. A kind of honesty that sliced deeper precisely because it wasn't meant to be cruel. Ryan, I said slowly, that's manipulation. He flinched. I know. You weaponize my feelings. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. My voice was calm, softer than I felt. And the truth is, you still don't know what you want. His silence was confirmation. I stepped back from him, not dramatically, just enough to feel the air shift. I think, I said carefully, that this is where our story ends. His face crumpled, but he didn't argue. He didn't beg. He didn't promise change he couldn't sustain. He simply nodded. It was the most honest thing he'd given me in months. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. What if I figure it out, he whispered. What if 6 months from now, or a year from now, I know for sure what I want? Then maybe we'll talk, I said gently, but I'm not waiting for that day. He nodded once, stepped outside, and closed the door. This time, it didn't feel like the end of something I needed. It felt like the beginning of something I hadn't realized I was missing. It's been a month since the door closed behind Ryan for the last time. A month of quiet mornings and peaceful evenings. A month of no cryptic posts, no emotional landmines, no arguments about nothing that were secretly about everything. And it's strange how quickly a life can recalibrate once the weight you were carrying is no longer mistaken for normal. People like to say breakups are dramatic, messy, catastrophic. Mine wasn't. Not in the end. It was a quiet realignment, a gentle unhooking, the sound of a heart finally refusing to negotiate its worth. Ryan hasn't contacted me since that night. I heard through a mutual friend that he's seeing people, going on casual dates, nothing serious. It didn't sting the way I thought it would. If anything, it confirmed what I already knew. He was chasing the feeling of excitement, validation, the high of being wanted, not stability, not partnership, certainly not accountability. Ellen surprisingly still texts me. Not often. Just small check-ins. Thinking of you today. You did the right thing. Please don't doubt your decision, sweetheart. There's a tenderness in her messages that makes me ache in an unexpected way. Some people lose their partner and their partner's family. I lost Ryan, but not the mother who saw me. Not perfectly, but more clearly than the man I dated for 3 years. I'm grateful for that. In the past month, I've kept myself busy, not to avoid the pain, but to redefine my life without him in it. I started a new project at work, one that actually excites me. I've picked up cycling on weekends, nothing intense, just long rides where my mind feels spacious. I've reconnected with friends I unintentionally drifted from because I was so busy managing Ryan's storms. I even started therapy, not because I'm broken, but because I want to understand why I allowed myself to live on emotional crumbs for so long. Last week, my therapist asked me something I hadn't expected. Brooke, she said gently, what did you learn from all of this? Not what hurt you, not what he did wrong, what you learned about yourself. I stared at the ceiling for a long moment before answering. And here's what I told her. I learned that feeling safe isn't boring. I learned that stability isn't the absence of passion. It's the foundation for real intimacy. I learned that someone who makes you shrink doesn't deserve a lifetime subscription to your energy. I learned that a person who uses your feelings as leverage is not a partner, but a lesson. I learned that love isn't supposed to feel like guessing what version of someone you'll get each day. I learned that longing is not loyalty. And I learned that I'd rather be alone than be someone's emotional safety net while they daydream about someone else. When I left the therapist's office that day, I didn't feel lighter. I felt anchored, more myself than I had been in a long, long time. Here's the truth. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll meet someone next month. Maybe next year. Maybe not for a long time. Maybe never in the romantic sense. But I'm not scared of that anymore. Because my life did not collapse when Ryan left. It didn't become empty. It became mine again. And whoever comes next, if someone does, they won't be chosen out of fear or habit or the desire to avoid silence. They'll be chosen because they match the person I am now, not the version of myself I dimmed to keep the peace. There'll be someone who chooses me without hesitation, someone who knows my worth without needing a crisis to recognize it, someone who doesn't need to post about their ex to feel alive. But until then, or even if then never comes, I'm not waiting. I'm not shrinking. I'm not holding space for someone who can't hold space for me.